Hi, this is Mr. Ng going over pre-calculus quiz number 1. This was sections, chapter P, section 1 to 3, taken August 8th, 2028, 2017. Question number 1, simplify this expression. Anytime you have a negative exponent, if it switches its place, so it's going to go here, this v to the negative 1 is going to go up, negative exponent is going up. So I have this here. When you're multiplying same base, add the exponents, so this becomes u to the 5th. Here you have v to the 1st and v to the 3rd. You can kind of cancel 1 and cancel 1. You have two v's in the bottom, that would be v squared. So that would be choice A. Question number 2 is shows these numbers in order, and then you need to... Alright, so for question number 2, I just took these numbers, and it says 2.7, 10 to the negative 3. Remember, a negative exponent is telling us that it's going to go left 3 times, 3 positions. This one, 1, 2, 3. So that would be 0.0027, and that would actually be the smallest number. 7.2, again, 1, 2, 3. This would be kind of like our middle number, and the greatest number is actually here. That would be 2.7. Question number 3, write the standard form of an equation of a circle with a radius r and center hk. So I see the word standard form, so write it down. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And again, I'm just going to point this out because I've seen many students kind of struggle with that. It's that minus sign right there. So if your h value is negative 3, and your k value is 0, you don't have to write the 0 here, so this is just y squared. So that eliminates A and B, so your choices are between C and D. Then here, this is the opposite of negative 3, which is a plus 3, which would be D. 6 squared would be 36, right? Your R value is 6 there. So be careful of that negative sign. Question number 4 says, if 7x plus 4 equals negative 19 minus negative 19 plus 5x, what is then 2x minus 14 equals? So I noticed something in that equation, that it's equal to 2x. So what I did here is I just put all the x's together, so just subtract 5x, get rid of this 4, subtract 4, 2x equals negative 23. Now you could just divide it by 2 and get a value for x, but again I saw that it was already equal to 2x, so I can just stop right here, substitute it in for 2x, so 2x is negative 23, and negative 23 minus 14 gives me negative 37, and negative 37 is not none of those, so this is none of the above. It's none of those. Question number 5 talks about to factor that. This one's color-coded. And what I do is I break them into factors, so 20 ABC, this is 5 times 4 times A times B times C. So I'm breaking them into factors, so I'm trying to look for the greatest common factor, one that's in each of those. 15A squared C, so that's 5 times 3 times A times C, and negative 5, so don't worry about the negative, just have 5 times A times C, and it's also multiplied by 1. So notice that they have a 5 in common, they have 1A, and to only do 1A, and 1C. So here, this is our greatest common factor. Then what's left in there that's not highlighted, 4B, you just use the math operation, 3 and an A, so 3A, and the math operation minus. And a lot of times when you think there's nothing left, there's still that factor of 1, so that would be choice D. Question number 6. Solve that multi-step equation with a fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a 7, 21, and 3. I want to clear the fraction, and their lowest common multiple is 21. So if I multiply by 21 here, you can see 21 times this term, and then 21 times this term. I can do some cross-canceling here. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 3 times 12 is 36x. 21 times 1 over 21, that just cancels and they equal 1, right? Negative 1 or negative x. Over here, I'm going to do the same thing, distribute that 21 times 2/3, negative 2/3, you're going to get negative 14. 3 goes in 21 7 times, it crosses off, put a 7 there, and you multiply the 2, right? And then here I'm just using my algebra. This is a 1 right here. So 35x, subtract 21, divide by 14, x equals -1, which is choice D. Each multiple choice is worth 2 points, and then the whole page is worth 15, so 2 points for your writing your name, first and last name, nice, and then 1 point for the period. Turn to the back side. For your response, make sure to show all your work and box your answers. Number 7, solve and graph an interval notation. You didn't use interval notation, took off a point. Notice I have a fraction here, so I'm going to eliminate the fraction by multiplying both sides by 6. If I do that, and these cancel, you're just left with 4x plus 2. On this side, 3 goes into 6 2 times. So then I just have to distribute the 2, 4x plus 2. And if I subtract it, I get something like 2 is less than 2. This is false. 2 is never smaller than 2, therefore there are no real solutions. Now if you wrote the word true, true would have been incorrect, because it's only true if it be all real solutions. If this was true, always true, that statement. I gave you guys 3 points if you wrote all real numbers with work, but not the correct answer. Number 8, I am finding the distance between points A and F. I use the Pythagorean theorem, draw a right triangle. A is 3, B is 8, plug it in, and to get rid of the power of 2, take square root. The distance is square root of 73. So that's an exact distance. So anytime that you have the word exact, you shouldn't have any decimals. You know to use decimals if it says round or something like tenths or hundredths, or 2 decimal places. If you got the problem wrong, and then you at least wrote down the correct formula, Pythagorean theorem, or the distance, I give you 2 points. Let's just say you rounded when I didn't ask you to, I'll give you 3 points. Here's the distance formula. You recognize it's pretty similar. Just be careful of the negative sign and the correct formula. Question number 9. If you're solving this, subtract 11y, subtract 13, and then divide, I get y is greater than -4. And then it has the keyword or. Then subtract 2y, add 8 to both sides, okay, divide by 15, I get y is greater than 1/5. And then if I graph this, y is greater than -4 in an interval notation. Remember, you'll lose a point if it's not interval notation. I have a bracket, and it goes this direction. And then I have y is greater than 1/5. That's a parentheses and going this direction. Now the keyword or means I only have to meet one of these conditions, meaning I need 2 check marks or just 1 check mark on my test points. Now you'll recognize if I choose something like -5, -5 is bigger than -4, that's false. And -5 is bigger than 1/5, that is also false. You have 2 x's up here. So this area, there are no solutions. But if you go on and do your other test points, such as test it in between -4 and 0, and then 1/5 is slightly above it, so you can test 1/5. 1/5 is bigger than -1/4, that is true. And 1/5 bigger than 1/5, that is false. But remember, the word or just means one condition. So I'm just looking at the areas where there's 1 or 2 check marks. They're both true here. Only one of these are true. Therefore, it's starting at -4. From -4 here all the way over this direction, that's positive infinity. So your answer is -4, comma, infinity, parentheses. So I give you 3 points if you got the graph and you chose those right there, but you didn't get this. I give you 2 points if you just solved for it. Question number 10. This problem is probably just best to distribute, so if you distribute it correctly, I give you 2 points. -8 times 6 is -48. -8 times positive 5n gives you -40n. Add 40n to both sides, that gives you 43n. Add 5 to both sides, this gives you a -43. Divided by 43, n equals -1. If you're making those common mistakes, definitely use your calculator. That side was out of 16 points. 16 points. And then you just turn your page like this. This is how you check your score. 15 plus 16 gives you 31, so that was out of 31 points. Hope these corrections will help you not make those same mistakes on your next one. Good luck.